Hey YouTube, league turnover today, and we have two good options. We have the Great League, which I'll do top teams this afternoon, but we also have Halloween Cup. So Halloween Cup's always been a kind of fun cup. Poison, Bug, Ghost, Dark, and Fairy are eligible. So 5 typings. Again, if you're going to have a limited cup, you want to see 5+ typings. I think why this cup always feels kind of more fun is for two reasons. One is it right off the bat eliminates some of the main meta typings, right? Ground, water, flying, stuff that has been super meta since season 1 of GBL are not one of the main typings. So you automatically eliminate what is generally considered main typings in GBL. And then prior to the last few seasons with some of these poison and bug buffs, what you would get is a meta that you would see you'd see typings that you don't normally see in the open Great League. So you don't see a lot of poisons, you don't see a lot of bugs. Now that was the case the last few Halloweens. Bug and poisons have received buff the last few seasons, so they are, as a typing, better than they have been in the past the last time this was around. And that is reflected in the typings here too, a little bit. Mostly on the poisons, right? You have Clodsire at number 1, Nidoqueen as a poison at number 3, Drapion at number 9. I'm trying to see if any of these others have secondary poison typings off the top of my head here. No, they do not. So you should not be surprised that Clodsire is high on this list. It's a top ranked Pokemon, and 2 typings that I just mentioned are everywhere in the Open Great League, which makes it a little trickier to run. Even 3 if you consider some of the flyers when you run Sludge Bomb. Flying, water hits super effective, ground hits super effective. So when you eliminate those, you have Clodsire, which is already a fantastic Pokemon, ranked to the top. Plus, with ground being gone, you can get on secondary typing, so there's less ground. There's a lot of things kind of weak to ground here, as you're going to see rock and steel and electric and stuff. And that is why I'll kind of talk about, I'll just kind of mention that between that, it having earthquake, and then Nidoqueen here as the other poison with Mud Slap. That's why with the ground typing they get up. And Mud Slap user, right? There are still a couple of Mud Slap users that get in as their secondary typing. Nidoqueen 1 and Golurk as another. So just be aware that those are out there, and I think that's why Nidoqueen is out there. You got a Mud Slap user, which is very strong in this meta. You have Poison Fang, which just lowers the defense and can chip against some of these fairies too, right? So it's a pretty strong combo for Nidoqueen. Drapion can be used as a safe swap. Has the Poison Sting, super fast charging, Crunch, and Aqua Tail for coverage. So those are your poisons. I'll go to the other ground on this list. It is in as a ghost, but Runerigus, it is a ground in itself, but it doesn't have ground type moves. I think it actually does have ground type moves, but it's not the recommended moveset. It's Shadow Claw, Brutal Swing, Rock Tomb, but it is a ground if you need to like resist poison or other things that ground resists. So just keep that in mind with Runerigus. Carbings on this list, they're fairies. Less, I just kind of mentioned 2 of the typings that aren't on this list. So sort of like 3 typings not on the list that it's weak to as water, ground, and grass. Right? Those aren't they can get, again, you can get in secondary typings, but you need to have at least one of these other typings to get in. So with those 3 gone, Carbink, a very strong option. Did I say steel was an option, or is it there just a lot of secondary steel here? Steel isn't an option either. So basically all the things that resist rock are not in as the main typings. Like I mentioned, there's Clodsire, there's Runerigus, there's some steels as you go over here to like King Gambit. So there are other secondary typings, Klefki as a steel here, that still resists the rock, but when you eliminate a lot of your weaknesses, it just makes it feel like it's a bit safer out there. Corsola's Corsola. Yes, Dark's in here, but Corsola has a lot of play just in the Open Great League as well. Fairy is a typing as well, so that could keep the Darks in check, but you should see more Darks than normal, so that may make Corsola a little weaker than it feels in the Open Great League, but it should still be pretty strong. Klefki is a steel. I think it gets in because I think it's Steel Fairy. So it gets in with the steel, which is nice to resist some fairy users here, some bug bite users here, some bullet punch. And so just overall pretty nice to resist a bunch of things. That's steel typing. Has Astonish as a fast move, which is a nice hard-hitting fast move. And then you have sort of coverage, foul play, for your ghosts, which are in this meta. You have play off for your darks that are in this meta. So nice just coverage around there for that Pokemon. Shadow Scizor, fire typing, only one weakness, fire. Fire is not one of the main typings. And so you just think of like the main um, the main weaknesses that you see in the Open Great League with this thing. Talonflame won't be in. Charizard won't be in. Typhlosion won't be in. Maycargo won't be in. So all of a sudden you have a lot more freedom with Scizor and Fortress. I'll just add it on because it's the same sort of thing. Here, a little more freedom. There are some waters still in this where water will resist Bullet Punch, but you have Trailblaze. So you should see a healthy dose of Scizor. Sableye, it's not on this list, but Spiritomb also kind of fits this bill. The Sableye Spiritomb, and I've got a Sableye Runerigus team. They feel safe in this meta. Yeah, there are a couple fairies. You got Dedenne here. But claws are generally hitting neutral against most fairies except for Wigglytuff. So you can like claw your way through a lot of those matchups. You got Power Gem. You can also run it with Dazzling Gleam if you're more worried about the darks, right? Because Sableye's going to have a problem with other dark Pokemon like Moltres and stuff. Although Moltres you can hit with Power Gem as well. But if there's other darks on this list, having a Dazzling Gleam could also work on Sableye. But it should be pretty safe. Good safe swap. Dusclops, Dusknoir. Now we're getting to the meta Ghost Pokemon from the Open Great League that are a bit lower on the ranking. Again, I think they're lower because Dark has a lot more freedom to a certain extent in this meta. There are fairies out there, but you know, fighting is not one of the main typings, so there goes one of your other weaknesses. Bug is a typing, so Dark is weak to Bug as well. So you got Fairy and Bug on this list that Dark will hit super effective against Dark. So it's not that like good Dark is going to completely roam free, but it feels like more freedom in this meta than it would in the Open Great League, and that's why you have Kingambit up here. You have Moltres and Sableye, and then you're going to see a couple teams with Greninja as well. Kingambit again as a dark Pokemon, but it has that metal sound that got buffed, or did it get buffed, or did it give it to this Pokemon? Either way, spamming Foul Plays and Iron Heads, and has half steel typing, which helps out there too. Glare Moltres, flying, watch the fairies, but otherwise you neutralize that Bug weakness. So watch your fairies and I think fairies are going to be they're the main thing. I guess Darks were going to be a bit of an issue too if their Sucker Punch is resisted, but you can potentially go Brave Bird and offset that. And then Azumarill, Dedenne and Azumarill, two fairies, but secondary typings helping out here. Dedenne with the electric, and then Azumarill being able to deal with all these sort of ground Pokemon that are dominant at the top here. So I went through and I looked at my old Halloween Cup teams from last season, and I put them into PVPOKE to see, are there any teams that still sim well? So this was a team from last season: Azumarill, Greninja, Dragalge with that reworked Dragon Tail too, so that will play a bit different. But this is what it looks like in the sims in PVPOKE this season. As you can see, pretty nice down the board. A couple things that beat it: Tinkaton Fortress beat it all the way through. But Greninja is super, super spammy with those Water Strike and Hydro Cannons, and those hit pretty hard in any neutral matchup, right? So Hydro Cannon is a great move, very attack heavy. You have a Azumarill that will offset that with Bulk. And then you have Dragalge as a safe swap. Dragalge, you are double weak to Grass. I don't even know if there's any Grass in this meta, but if there is one secondary typing Grass that gets in, you have Ice Beam on Azumarill, and then you have a Poison there on Dragalge to deal with that. So overall, looks like it's still a pretty safe team. Greninja, I think, is on the second team too, just to show you how kind of safe it is. So this was Greninja, Clodsire, and then I used both Quillfish. Clodsire, as you can see, as one of the top-ranked Pokemon, just really covers the weaknesses of Greninja, right? Greninja, when fighting, Fairy, Electric. Clodsire is a fantastic cover for all that. Clodsire weak to ground, and they have the water. So the Greninja Clodsire type team up there is going to be very, very, very strong. So I think it was basically that balanced team with a safe swap. So I think I used Quillfish, both of them last time. You can see both of them simmed here to decide which one you think is better. You can also use a different safe swap, but I think the Greninja Clodsire core is probably one that I'm going to start with because I think it is truly that strong. So let's look at some other options here. So Nidoqueen is highly ranked with, again, I think Mudslap is going to be pretty strong in this meta. You got poisons, which it's weak. Poisons here. You got Dedenne as electric. You got some steels and so Mudslap and Carbinks as the rock. So you have a lot of options where Mudslap can hit neutral. You will also resist Fairy because you are half poison. So that seems like a pretty strong recipe for success. Paired it with Carbink to give it a little bulk, because if you're going to use Nidoqueen, it's a little, not glassy, but it's more glassy than some of these other Pokemon that you'll potentially use. Especially if you use the Shadow version. This one sims without the Shadow, so you can use Shadow or non-Shadow. It does not matter too much. Putting Carbink as a little more bulk. That does make you double weak to water. And there, I mentioned there's Greninja. You can see there's Jelson down there. So then I put in a safe swap that can also deal with that. And Amoonguss is one. Seems pretty safe. I saw Mark just hit Legend with this team, with Amoonguss on his team. So definitely has some play. Got some coverage with some grass and a meta that is desperate in need of grass, with a foul play as well. So balanced team. I expect to see a healthy dose of Nidoqueen, especially given that the top two Pokemon in Clodsire and Carbink are weak to Mudslap. So do not be surprised if you see a healthy dose of Nidoqueen. So you're going to see a healthy dose of Nidoqueen. Let's have a team double weak to Nidoqueen. Drapion, Tinkaton, and then Corsola. So Corsola is just the bulk with two things weak to ground in the back. You can even see, even though you will lose to these ground Pokemon, Drapion does not have bad matchups, and neither does Tinkaton, because Tinkaton has the Bulldoze, right? So between the Bulldoze on Tinkaton and the Aqua Tail on Drapion, you can pull one out, use whatever as a safe swap, usually Drapion, spam your way through the Aqua Tails, try and grab a shield. Corsola can sort of beat the rest of it and take damage, and then the other one kind of roams free in the back. Again, not a ton of Mudslap users. There was a couple, so you can try to draw it out with this team, but otherwise, as you can see in the back, Tinkaton and Drapion just so spammy and so overall safe in the meta. I think with their movesets and again the spam ability of these two Pokemon, I think are very strong. Golurk, Klefki, and Scizor. So I started with Klefki because it was high on the list, and as you can see there, that steel typing really helps out in this meta, and then the moveset in itself is also pretty strong. And then I'm like, okay, what's going to be its weaknesses? Ground, ground, and I forget what the other ones are. But I was like, okay, let's put in Golurk as a Mudslap user, because I think that'll be pretty strong as well. And then I was looking through, I'm like, okay, what do I need for coverage here? And then they recommended Scizor, and I'm like, well, okay, Scizor will cover the Azumarill with the Trailblaze and stuff like that, but and cover Dust Noir, but it does make you, I'm pretty sure double weak to fire. But I'm like, okay, let's just make this an ABB style team where Golurk's the lead. Klefki can be your safe swap. Klefki trying to draw out either Mudslap users or fire Pokemon, and then Golurk will beat the rest of it, and then Scizor will roam free in the back. Scizor only weak to fire, and I mentioned all the fire that are not going to be in the meta this time around, which makes it stronger. Fortress, double Ghost. Sableye is half dark, but Sableye and Runerigus. Ghost's biggest problem is going to be dark. Runerigus will have the Bug Bite to hit super effective against dark. You also have Sableye, which you're also going to have problems in the back against Wigglytuff. Steel will resist, although Bug Bite is resisted by Fairy. So it's an ABB style team. I think Sableye and Runerigus can both do well as safe swaps. They have enough cover moves. And Shadow Claw is one of the best fast moves in the game. So I think that overall it should be a pretty strong ABB style team. I've seen this team, variations have run it with like Sableye Spirit Tomb, the double dark Ghost in the back there, to offset the dark sort of weakness and kind of go from there. And the last one, King Gambit, I saw it on the list. It's pretty high. Steel Dark. It says it's more glassy. I've never used it before, so I actually don't know how it plays. But it says it is less bulky. So I truly would just like, let's put two of the bulkiest Pokemon in the meta, in the back here, that can more or less cover each other's weaknesses. So Dusclop's going to have the biggest problem with Dark. Azumarill a Fairy, so it'll beat the Dark. So basically you have King Gambit on the lead. Kind of use the strategy that I've shown and Homes Ice has shown, where you just have like a more attack heavy Pokemon on the lead, shield early, spam through, align in the back with some bulky Pokemon, and go from there. And that is how you should play out this team if you're going to use it. So that is the meta. Again, this is not... What would I expect early? I would expect a lot of Nidoqueens early. I would expect a lot of Drapions and Sableyes as safe swaps early. And I would expect a lot of Scizors early just because a lot of the fires are gone. Because Clodsire, Carbink, and Nidoqueen are also like ground, rock, ground, I would expect a lot of water Pokemon if there are some water in the meta. So Azumarill, Greninja I've showcased a couple times. So I would expect those to offset to beat some of the top ranked Pokemon there. So that's what's going to start early. Like I said, I think the, Clodsire Greninja combo is very strong. I'll probably start with something like that. Would not be surprised if I use Scizor a decent amount in this meta. And then we'll adjust based on what we're seeing. I think having played all 200 matchups in the Great League on the weekend, I think I'm going to be playing Halloween Cup early. I definitely have at least a couple more of my teams, and I think one more subscriber team, maybe two more subscriber teams coming this week anyways from the Great League. So I think we'll go Halloween Cup Great League combo here so people can have a variety of views, like be able to watch what they want to watch. Let me know what you are going to play, and if there's a Pokemon either in this meta or a team that you've used in the past that you want to try again that you're going to use. Halloween Cup is not new. It's been around. I'm trying to remember if it was around in like seasons 1 through 4. It's definitely been around for the last 3 to 4 seasons. Part of me think that it has been around since like seasons 1 through 5 as well. Not a new meta. Obviously, well, it's a new meta. It's not a new league, but a new meta as the Pokemon adjust and moves get buffed and stuff, and new Pokemon are introduced to the game. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.